Guys, the New York session started maybe about an hour and 10 minutes ago. I took one trade today and that was good enough for me. I'm one and done today. Let me walk you through what I was seeing and doing today in the NQ market, NASDAQ 100 futures market. All right. A couple different observations here. We had quite a bit of selling yesterday and overnight. The Globex did bounce here. It bounced pretty nicely, and it one pulled back and then came back and came up again and put in another pullback here at this level, this 77 level. I noticed that there was quite a bit of support at this particular level right here, 25,477, and that's just because you had all these little pivots here. So the market opened and it was very, non-directional the first 15 minutes. As you can see, there's a perfect doji there, a red doji. You've got wicks extending down to 477 and up to 577. Okay, the 77 level, which I've kind of marked in purple because that's one of my favorite colors, is an area where you're always looking at pivots. You're always looking at launch points, etc. 26 and 77 actually, but yeah, I just wasn't getting a clear signal at all, and really pays to wait when you're not seeing anything happening that's really that decisive. So, price was going up, price was going down. Eventually, price took off here starting at 945, just like it did yesterday. Actually, price took off here at 940. There's a nice trade here at 945, which I got. But in this particular instance, the first 15-minute candle really was technically you would have had to have just bought right at 945 sharp if you were paying attention to this candle, and there's just no way to know. There would have been no way to know to do that because this can be a pivot in either direction, especially since it's red. It could have just been a pivot for a continuation down, or it could have been a pivot for um, up to the north side. Actually, that would not have been a pivot to the downside. It just would have been a pause and then to the downside. So there's just no way using our methodology that I've been developing to know what to do with that candle. That's just not giving you a signal at all, in my opinion. So we had a massive buy program kick in at 945 sharp. Price went from 25,529 all the way up to 25,700. So about it's almost I don't know, that's 200, 175 points. Well, that's a pretty big jump. In the NASDAQ, that's a very nice move. And if you would have caught that, good for you. And a lot of traders are kind of catching pullbacks on the way up, and that's fine. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't trying to do that because I'm just trying to do my methodology right now, which is retest, 50% retests. So once this candle completed, now I have an area of strength, right? A true trend in order to use to measure for a retest. So that's exactly what I did. I went ahead and got my fib tool, put the high up here on this time frame starting at 10 o'clock sharp. I made this measurement and I took it down to 26 at the bottom. 25,526 at the bottom. And I left it there to kind of marinate for a little while, for price to marinate. Now the call that I made in the trading room that I'm in was for 12. So actually I had this a little bit higher. Actually, I think I had this on the bottom of the body, not the wick. And that's the way I usually do it. So 612 is what we had here for a point of interest. And I called out in the trading room and watch 612. I'm watching 612 for a buy. So the whole 15-minute period came and went here in this 10 o'clock to 10:15 range, and price did come down, but didn't come down that far. And so then I started thinking, well, maybe this is the beginning of a reversal. Although, to tell you the truth, with the uptrend that we were already in, I wasn't really so sure of that. So I didn't kind of front run anything that I saw reversal wise, but I did check it out for a reversal. And what I did is I put a upside down fib box on the low and the high of that candle, that red candle, starting at 10:15. I made that another buy sell was a sell period place, and I said I'll sell if it gets up to 80 and gives me a signal at 80. And so that was the first possibility. So I had that on there, and that was at this time right here. So basically, price did come up into the pivot box. It did come up, and it did cross. The MACD did cross and head down, and I did get my flat top red candles right out of the pivot box. But I was trying to get it closer to the midpoint of the box. Because I had a slightly long bias, I did not want to take the trade unless it got all the way up there and then rolled over. So I skipped that trade, even though it was technically a valid trade because it entered the pivot box, the pivot zone. Okay. So anyway, where do you think price went to next? Well, price made a bum rush for my 12.25, which I've marked right here. I was waiting for it. I was ready for it. I was only too happy to take that trade, but I had to let it set up first. Okay, I wasn't going to just take it blindly. The trade had to set up first before I was ready to take it. So, what I'm looking for a setup, I say this every single day in my videos. When it first came down, and usually this was a good sign that it was going to bounce, because usually it does what I call it takes a bum rush. Like the candles get big, the volume gets very big before the pivot. You can see some of the biggest volume of the day happen and in this zone, and as it entered this pivot zone, you'd see some of the biggest volume of the day, except for like back here, this W that happened at 10 o'clock and some other times in the market. But it was, you could see it. I mean, price was just dancing all over that price ladder, bouncing very hard. But I tried, I was like, I'm going to wait for my signals. I'm going to stay calm and wait for my signals. What are my signals? Two of them. I need a MACD cross, which I got here exactly at on this candle right here. Let's look at this one. My MACD cross happened on this candle. I'm looking for flat bottom green candles at that point. I got one here. I mean, technically it's not, but it might as well be. So I got one here, and I got one there. And with that, everything was in place to take my trade. I had my MACD cross, I had my two flat bottom green candles, and I entered at about, let's see, 35.75 was the fill. Right up there. That was my fill right there. That was my fill. I had a 25-point stop on it, just to be safe. I was trading one mini. My stop would have been down here at, way down here at 10. Okay, I'm giving myself room in case it wanted to wick down and kind of bounce off that 50% level again. It could do that if it needed to do that. These are 5-second candles. I took 15 seconds of heat, not very much heat at all, very little heat. The 26, which is one of our key levels on every time frame, was protecting me, and then from then on, it went straight up. Where did it go up to? 77. That's right, and that's where I got out. I put my stop just under 77 as it rolled over, and I got taken out at 74. I had one mini, and that trade was good for $765. I believe it was 762 after commissions. One trade, guys. That's all it takes. You wait. You set your levels. You watch your candles. You set your levels. You take your trade. That's all you need to do. One trade. I was risking 25 points on that, which is about $500. and I took one trade and made a $765 profit. So it was about a 1.5 reward to risk on that particular trade. Not too bad. That would be about the minimum you'd want to do. I usually don't risk 500. I usually risk closer to about 3 to 350, but it was a pretty volatile moment in the market, so I expanded my risk a little bit, just so that I would be okay with that. My max drawdown at the present moment is $5,262. So I have quite a bit of drawdown available to me. Losing 500 out of 5,000 is not going to hurt me too much. It's only 10%, and these are prop firms, so you can afford to, lose more than your typical 1% if it was a cash account, for example. Okay, so basically that's it. Now, there was a pullback to the 10-second 2021, which I like to see sometimes. I didn't take it. It was actually turned out to be a pretty good trade also. Sometimes I've said that if it breaches that, then I'm out. It wicked under it, but it held above it. So technically I should have still been in the trade, but it's just, on longs, really, it's sometimes what you need to do is you need to play this cloud, which is a 1 minute 9 and 20. But either way, I was happy with the points that I got. It's about the same amount of points I got yesterday, roughly, on my trade, about $600-700. So I was pretty happy with that. But basically, that's how it's done. I'm showing you these trades every single day, and they seem to be working out pretty well. So I will keep you posted on the results that I have tomorrow by posting another video. And for now, please like and subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to grow the channel a little bit. Just getting started here with the channel. And I'm excited about sharing my information with you because I think it's valuable information. Alrighty, thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.